Smart movers, I'm Siam Pasarly. Negotiation is not a war, it is a bridge. It allows us to have what we want while also allowing the other side to do the same. Learn to negotiate. Most people are afraid. They can't talk about money, can't talk about salaries. They cannot negotiate contracts, expectations, even their own rights. Meanwhile, there are some difficult or pushy people in the market. How to handle them? How to negotiate during the crisis, or how to handle a conflict? What are the main skills that we should have? I'm going to discuss this and others with Vladimir Bushin. Hi, how are you?
Hi, Siam. Pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for your invitation and looking forward to our conversation.
Thank you very much, Vladimir Bushin. Am I pronouncing your name correct?
That's right. Thank you.
Great. I was just reading about negotiation, and you are an influencer, you are a coach, you have expertise in these areas. I would love to know more about your background, for how long you are in this field, and what was the reason that you choose to be a negotiation coach.
Yeah, this is a great question. And believe it or not, I started to learn about negotiation, not because I was good about this, but because I was horrible at this. So I didn't know how to negotiate.
I appreciate your honesty.
Absolutely. And I wanted to, when I was young and handsome, and I lived in Russia. And by the way, I'm an immigrant from Russia. I immigrated to the United States in 2006. So before, I worked in Russia in IT industry, and at that time, I want to be a manager. I want to lead teams. I want to do a bigger projects, and I want to take responsibility. And I was quite excited about learning about technology, and did the programming for a while. And I gained trust from from my leaders, and they put me in charge of a team, and I started to manage several people. And then in Russia, it's a little bit different environment. It's more articulative. It's more assertive.
Yeah, I have heard that in Russia people don't negotiate. How come I have a Russian negotiator?
Yeah, and I got a bunch of postgraduate college students who were very assertive. They wanted to make their way up, and they couldn't wait to be the leader and the architect, and in a leading position. And everybody were so argumentative, and it was tough for me. And it was tough because I also had a kind of challenging environment up there in the leadership level as well. So all in all, I failed that miserably, and I ruined the relationship with all my team, and my team went against me, and
Oh my God.
behind my back, and said to my boss, like, we cannot work with this guy. My boss, and he worked in America, and of course he relied on the managers, the leaders. He relied that everything will be good, and he flew from the United States to Russia, and he came and he talked to the team, and then he invited me for a lunch. And I thought like, oh, lunch with the boss, that how wonderful is that? And then at lunch he said to me like he is going to derail me, and I couldn't eat a piece after this. It was so hard. I was so shocked. It was very unexpected, and I say, well, talk to the team. They will tell you that everything is fine. And he's like, no, team is actually against you. They don't want you. So I was derailed for a most technical position, away from people. And after that, I thought like, okay, I need to change that. It cannot be this way. I cannot really sacrifice the relationship for the sake of results. So
when was this?
It was before my immigration, so it was maybe 2003, 2004.
Okay,
Because
long
I
ago.
immigrated, yeah, because I immigrated 2006. And then imagine this, due to that, due to my demotion, I was so good at knowing the product. There was a complex product. It was innovative startup product, and I was so good at the product that my company decided to bring me to the customer as a business analyst, as a liaison between the America and Russia. And I went there and I decided, okay, now I got to do something else. I want to learn everything about how to build a relationship. I learned about rapport. Rapport was completely foreign concept to me before, and I learned about that when I came to the America. I was like surprised. What rapport is like? What people are talking about? What rapport is? So it was very surprising, eye-opening for me. And also, I came to Minnesota. Minnesota is I would say very specific culture. It's a Midwest. In Midwest, everything is kind of like requires respect, distance, requires a slow pace, requires a lot of room. You know, never interrupt. You know, for the God's sake, don't interrupt people because it's a hard it's the biggest sin. You know, you can't interrupt people here. So and they will never tell you what you're doing wrong. You need to figure it out yourself. So nobody wants to be confrontational. So I learned a lot from Minnesota culture, and I went to different trainings. And my boss sent me to a training where I started to learn about how to organize team differently. And I went back. You know, I kind of bounced back after all this experience. I took the training from. Crucial learning called Crucial Conversations. It's an amazing training. I took that in person for 2 days. It was fantastic, and then I certified as a trainer. And at about around that time, the pandemic hit and everybody locked down. And at that time, I also organized a community of practice, and we started to
Okay, so
practice
I'm coming to
negotiation.
that to you.
Yeah, yeah.
So what if you don't have to answer this question. I'm asking everyone and at my podcast, uh, how how old are you? So you don't have to ask. You don't have to answer if you don't want.
Well, we usually don't ask this question. Well, let me let me tell you this. I'm in my 50s. Okay,
50s.
so
Okay, I have this another question.
okay,
How was this journey?
how was this journey? So you know, when you're young, you're ambitious. You want a lot of things, and you want it quick. And uh, the typical mistake people make is thinking that what they want take them quicker than they thought, and they think like, well, it takes me a year or two to get to the management, and it takes 10 years. It takes me a couple of years to get to the senior, and it takes them another decade to be executive. So everything takes longer than you think, especially if you don't know how to communicate with people, because most of the success is based on how you interact with others and how much there's one concept that is very, very important. It's called discretionary goodwill. Discretionary goodwill, if someone wants to help you because they like you, and this is so powerful, and you cannot demand it, you cannot buy it, you cannot you cannot really obtain it anyhow except by building relationships and
This is
by.
very powerful. I want to stop you for here. You said when someone like you, they want to help you, and when they help you, you cannot buy this help. You cannot find this help anywhere else. That is internally and that is emotionally.
Yeah,
It doesn't have cost.
yeah, at the same time it's very easy to break it, like you can break it like that.
Mm.
What discretionary goodwill does is, let's say in politics, for politician radiate the purpose. A politician is offering a certain change. A politician is talking about the values and principles and ethics, and you know, convince and influence people that they are the right person to move this purpose forward. And essentially, politician solicits a lot of discretionary goodwill when people want to help, not because of this guy, not because of this lady, because of the purpose and because of the trust. And that discretionary goodwill is very easy to break. Somebody comes in and saying like, "Oh, this is not a good guy. He has this and this and this," and they disclose some information that is hidden, and people just turns people off. So this is what happens in when it comes to political
So when
debates.
I
And
ask you this
yeah,
question, that how was your journey, I usually ask, okay, your life was bad, it went good, better, and now it is great. And this like, and this the whole journey that you have. All the lives has ups and downs, lots of problems, especially when you come to the new environment, new culture, new
yeah,
people. How do you rate your life? You are growing up, or
yeah,
still you feel you miss your home?
yeah. There is kind of like an anecdote in Russia about that. And there was a famous person in Russia who was an actor. It was a lady in Russia who was an actress in Soviet time, and she described it like this. She said like, when I was young, I thought like the life is about black stripes and white stripes, and when I was in my 30s, I thought it was a black stripe, but it actually was a white stripe. But it's a joke. Essentially, I noticed that I have much more support, much more fulfillment in life, and I believe that I go forward much faster and gain a lot of momentum when I connect with people.
So
And
what if I hear your name, Vladimir Bushin? When I say Vladimir, I know Vladimir Putin comes to my mind, and that would be another question that you like or not. But if I hear your name, what should come to my mind?
um, yeah, I probably should rename myself. I'm just kidding.
It mean you don't like Putin?
Yeah, whether one thing should happen, whether that Putin should be forgotten, or I should change my name. Um, so essentially, if you're talking about what should be associated with my name, Vladimir Bushin, uh, I I would like this to be associated with wisdom in building relationships with people, and the wisdom in terms of how to approach a conversation to make agreements, because negotiation is not anything more than making agreements with people, and agreements are pretty much collection of decisions. So if you make more decisions, more effective decisions, we make more effective agreements, our life becomes better. What do I mean? Let me give you an example. For example, if you join a company and you join at the entry level, or entry management level, and you want to grow, what do you need to do? You have a choice. You have a choice of just focusing on your work, put your head down, and work with your team. That's one choice. The other choice is you can go out and meet all the executives. You can meet all the executives. There's no limits. And in most companies, there's open door policy. You can knock any door and ask any question. People just don't use it. So what the wisdom is like, use what you can use. I mean, if you granted permission to expand your knowledge by connecting to different people, different executives, learning about how they do, what's important for them, what is their problem, what they need to solve, and maybe you have a solution for them, maybe you have an advice for them, maybe you have some reference and help and some book or anything. You could connect, you can build relationship. When you build relationship, guess what? The discretionary goodwill kicks in. Then you have more opportunities. People will start asking about you. They start knocking your door and say, how can we talk about this and this and this? Could you help with this project and that project? Could we get involved in this community? And this is your way forward. It's your way up. This is how you get more influential in the company. People don't use it. Actually, I say most people don't use it. Some people do, and people who do use that, they go to the top very quickly.
Stop. I have a lot of questions for you. And again, what if I hear your name? What should come to my mind? One word. Negotiation expert, relationship building expert. What do you name yourself?
Negotiation coach.
God. And in this journey, what are your three lessons that you want to share with people that these are the most important lesson in my life that I learned that people, business owners, or anyone should implement in their life or they should avoid these things in their life. So let's suppose I learned this in my life that I should practice to not talk a lot
Yeah,
when I'm going to the people events or in the family everywhere. So I learn to not talk a lot.
yeah,
So what is your three lessons that you learned?
yeah. That's a very good question. I appreciate that. Then I would say, I'm just from the top of my mind. I mean, it would be great to to take time and think about it. But just from the top of my mind, first of all, compromise less and discover more. And we are so get used to compromise because we are uncomfortable to negotiate. We think like negotiation is a games, tactical gamesmanship. It's a haggling. It's pushing each other with emotions, and it's absolutely not. Um, and in order to avoid those highly emotional situations, instead of fixing it, we start to compromise. So if somebody is telling you, you know, you're much more expensive than your competitors. You need to sharpen your pencil and give us a better offer. The first thing that comes to your mind is like, oh, how much should we give up? How much we should give a discount? And this is the wrong question. We shouldn't
Mhm.
think about this. We need to think about why they are still talking to us. Like, okay, they know that we are more expensive than competitors. Why are they still talking to us? What is our advantage? The first thing. And second, we need to understand whether, why they are kind of saying that, what is the reason for them to say it. And we need to actually discover that. We need to ask them questions. And people say no for four reasons. And whether they don't have a vision, what's your value, right?
Mhm.
They cannot, they don't have authority to say no. They only have a sorry, they don't have authority to say yes. They only have authority to say no. They are kind of blockers, and they don't really in charge of the budget, or they don't have data to support their decision. They want to support, they want to make it true, but they just need some data to support that, or they are just want to challenge you and see how far you can go. So essentially, they're kind of bluffing, and they want to
Number
they want
one
to
was do not
yeah,
compromise but negotiate,
do not compromise, discover. Instead of
discover.
compromise,
Okay.
discover.
And
Yeah,
what is the
yeah.
second one?
The second one, if you're a leader, and it more apply to the internal negotiation. Let's say you're a leader, you're a CEO, you're executive leader, very powerful. Don't use your leverage. Don't steamroll over the resistance, because if you ignore people's emotion, and this is a big misconception that people actually disregard emotions in the workplace. They think like emotions do not count, and they provide people numbers and logical reasoning, but they actually plow through. If you want to make a change, if you want something, they just plow through those emotional responses, and they generate a lot of negative responses. And what they lose is the very valuable thing is called discretionary goodwill. Discretionary goodwill is everywhere. It's like, we connected, Siam, we talk to each other, we like our concept, we like how we are thinking about, say we have same purpose, we are both immigrants, we're both activists of making, people feeling, people lives feel better, and then we decide, okay, let's do this. And you doing this just on your discretionary goodwill. You want to help me, I want to help you. This is how it should work, and that's very powerful. What
So
if
what
I
is the third
yeah,
one?
yeah.
So the
And
second one was you don't do not be ignorant. If you are
yeah,
a CEO or if you are a leader, if you are in an authority in a position,
don't
so
use
do
it.
not ignore
don't
people. You mean this?
don't use your authority, don't use your power. If you rely on power too often, people will feel it, that you are actually overpowering them.
Ah,
There's another way. Just use more of your skills rather than your power.
good. What about the third one?
Yeah. And the third one, let me put it this way. The third one will be, um, people often think that no is the bad outcome. They
Okay.
think like if you hear no, it's end of the story. But it's just a start. It's just a start.
That's good. No is not the end of the story. It is the start of the story.
It is a start of negotiation. There is a there is a famous sales guy, Jordan Belfort, and the Way of the Wolf, and he's saying, don't consider a sales start till people just give you first objection. Like before the first objection is not the sales; it's just marketing. But when you have objection, this is where the sales starts. So the same negotiation, you really didn't start to negotiate till you hear no from people. When the people say like, no, that's not a good, this is when the time you need to roll your sleeves and start really negotiating, talking about discovering, and at the same time, it is actually no is a comfortable decision. No keeps the status quo. No, that means everything stays where it is, right? It's a very comfortable decision. And
So let's summarize this. You said three lessons. One was
okay, so one was the don't compromise, discover.
yes,
Se-
exactly.
yeah. Second was don't use your power, use your skills. And the third one
Learn to
is
say no.
no is not the bad outcome. It's perceptually, emotionally difficult to hear no, but people should not really hear. It should be discouraged by no. No is where you can change. It is a decision that you can change.
Thank you very much. Now I'm going to open another chapter, come to the serious talk, which is negotiation. It is your field, and the first question will be for how long you are coaching people and how many people you coached and how is in this industry.
Yeah. Well, um, essentially, there's a lot of negotiation coaches in the industry, and I'm not the biggest. There's a Chris Voss, very famous negotiator. There's also Camp Negotiation System, Jim Camp, also very famous, and there are many other negotiation training companies, and that actually teach and train. There's a Cara school. There is a school of Harvard School. There is a there are other universities teaching that. Pretty much every university teaching negotiation right now. But unfortunately, many companies and many universities teach negotiation as if it is a bargaining, or it is about um, it is about give and take.
Okay. Wait. You said negotiation is not bargaining.
No, it's not.
What is negotiation?
I had a very interesting conversation with my nephew just yesterday. I want to talk to him about what negotiation is, and I said, I asked you a question. Would you like to cook dinner and today? And he's like, yeah, sure, I will cook dinner. And I said to him, was it a negotiation or not? And he's like, no, it was not negotiation. I said, well, we made an agreement, and agreement was that you cooking dinner. And he's like, yeah, we did. And I said, okay, well, that means we arrived to a decision. So we made a decision now who is cooking dinner. I didn't tell you to cook dinner. I didn't direct you. I asked you a question and you actually made a decision. Well, great. We arrived to, so from this perspective, think about it. Like you go to work and you are offering your services, you're getting hired. How many different topics do you discuss? Besides your compensation, your weekly compensation or hourly compensation, you discuss your start date, your vacation time, your benefits package, your opportunities to grow, the who will be reporting to you, and many other things. Maybe even more. Your title, of course. Actually, I negotiated my title on last job, so those are all negotiations. You
So let me
actually
ask you this
agreeing
question.
about all of them. Yeah.
What is the difference between communication and negotiation?
Okay, you need to know the definition of negotiation. The definition of negotiation is it's an effort
Mm-hmm.
of two or more people to make an agreement
Mm-hmm.
when each party has a right to veto, or in other words, to right to say no and walk away.
Mm-hmm.
If you take somebody's right to say no, it's no longer a negotiation. If you push someone into compliance, it's not a negotiation. So I think one of the maybe that was Nelson Mandela who said that slaves cannot get into contract because they don't control their life. In
Yes.
order to get into contract, in order to be able to negotiate your contract, you need to be in control. So you need to actually keep people in control so they make a decision to support the agreement that you're making.
So you mean power of the balance is the most important, like both sides should have authority
Absolutely.
and they make decision. Otherwise,
Exactly.
negotiations fail.
It's not a negotiation anymore. It's a forcing people into compliance. So you even need to remind people of their power. You need to tell them you have the right to say no. You don't need to agree with me. If you don't like it, please make your decision. Walk away. I don't need you to do this. I only want you to agree about this if it makes sense to you. And this is very powerful. I think, and this is different. What's the difference with the conversation? If you have a conversation, you don't really get into any agreement with anyone. Though we do that automatically. We actually make a lot of agreements throughout our day because we want to achieve our goals during the day, and we want to agree with people on how, align with them how we move forward. So if you're not just sitting in your apartment all day or house all day and watching TV, you probably communicate with people and talking about, I don't know, where to go for dinner, what to buy, what to cook, and what to do in the evening, and all of this is kind of like mini negotiations.
Okay, so I have heard this one when actually in politics, when negotiation fails or stopped, the war starts. How do you see this?
Yeah, it's a very good point here because it shows the difference between negotiation and using force. So the force, you don't need to use force for negotiation. Negotiation is based on a goodwill, based on common sense, based on decisions and the vision of the future that is mutual benefit. And it doesn't need to be, they call win-win and splitting in the middle. It just need to make sense to everyone. If there's a vision on each side that we will be better off if we agree, this is negotiation. But if we cannot really negotiate, if we give up on negotiation, we have two choices: whether we just walk away and continue doing what we want, on respectfully, and we don't really impact others, we respect their right to do, then it's a one choice. It's a right choice. The wrong choice is to disrespect others, violate their rights, withdraw their right to say no, and start pushing them. And that is a war.
Yeah.
And this kind of war, it's not necessarily a war between the countries, but it could be threatening somebody at work to be laid off, for example. It's a war because if you use force, essentially you're pushing people into compliance.
So I do personal branding. I help people to brand them properly to achieve their goal and get the right job faster. Or if they are entrepreneur, so I brand them when they have strong personal branding, it impact on their business. People go and buy from them. So now, how do you see how important being a strong negotiator is to have a strong personal branding? How is the connection? Do you see any connection?
Well, I'm not a branding specialist, so from this perspective, I need to ask you several questions to understand like what
Please.
you mean by branding. And um, I would say like
Can I,
influence.
can I tell you what I mean by branding, personal
Yeah,
branding?
yeah, yeah.
So what we do, we are writing their resumes, cover letters, biographies, we develop their messages, and then through social media like Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, we we publish their message to reach the right audience on time. We say right decision at the right time is right, wrong decision at the wrong time is wrong. So, or maybe right decision at the wrong time is wrong. This is the most important. And then we work with them. We develop their messages. We create a communication channel for them, and they start interacting with their target audience. So I feel that here, when we start communication, in some level, we face with people to negotiate. Suppose in the period, in this journey, we might get a job. So when we are getting a job, we need to negotiate our salary.
Yep.
So the
Yep.
salary issue is the most important. Lots of people, they have this fear. They cannot communicate their salary. So now, how do you see the importance of being a strong negotiator to overcome these conflicts and problems?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, that's a very, very good question, and I think I have a sort of answer that could be helpful. So there's something else that we didn't talk about that needs to be in the picture, and that is called influence. And influence is different from negotiation. The definition of influence is not the same as definition of negotiation. Negotiation is making agreements between two or more parties, okay? Influence is changing people's behavior. Essentially, how they, I think ancient Greeks made this definition of saying that influence if people start doing something that they wouldn't do if you wouldn't ask. So it's not necessarily being an agreement, it's more being a support. So I would speak as a Cialdini certified coach in ethical influence, and there are 7 principles that are deeply human and deeply psychological, and they talk about how people operate and why they make one or another decision. And those principles are based essentially on humanity. And there are 7 principles are reciprocity, liking, unity, social proof, authority, consistency, and scarcity. And we see application of those principles everywhere. For example, there's a principle that build trust and build relationship by essentially it's principle of liking that that's showing people empathy, empathetic statement. And one company, L'Oreal, applied this principle very efficiently, and they gained 300% more market share by doing that. They made a statement where they went against the typical marketing message. A typical marketing message is about exposing all the benefits for people and saying why they would benefit and what will be good. The L'Oreal actually exposed vulnerability first. And they say this, they said, we are expensive, but you're worth it. And when they said we are expensive, they articulated disadvantage that was obviously there. Everybody saw that L'Oreal is expensive, more expensive than the other brands. And they were honest about this and open about this. And people probably thought like, oh, this is very honest. And when they went with the strong side, it actually sounded so much more trustworthy. And they say, you're worth it. Actually, it was so empathetic that people felt like, oh, they realize like, oh, maybe I am better. Maybe they see me better than I am seeing myself. So it was very supportive, and people actually trust people to those people who believe in them and who tell them that they are better than they think they are. And that drove a lot of liking and reciprocity to L'Oreal, and that was very powerful. So we in branding, and we're talking a lot about the principle of influence from Cialdini.
Yeah. Oh, thank you very much for that. Yeah, that is great. So now again, I'm asking this question like this: how to negotiate salary?
How to negotiate salary? Okay, so I would say first of all, I would like to say how to not to negotiate salary, because many people actually make a mistake of negotiating salary in a certain way, and I will tell you how it usually look like. So usually, to prepare to negotiate salary and a promotion, people usually work too long. They work several years before they ask for a promotion. And they think that the promotion conversation and salary conversation should only happen after you establish yourself and you proven yourself. And only then, I don't know why people thinking of this. Maybe they try to think about their boss needs to like them first, and they try to earn that liking. But the thing is, the boss may like them even before they work for 5, 6, 7 years. But the problem is they wait too long, and then what happens? They get comfortable at what they do. They become really good at what they do, but actually that hurts them, because what's the incentive for a boss to promote somebody who is really good at this job? And then it will be a gap that needs to be replaced, and this person needs to go to yet another position where this person will not be excellent, and it will be like two people uncomfortable in two positions, and it will be a big problem for the boss. And that's the other thing why it is kind of like not really a good strategy to talk about this way. And also what the other problem is on an emotional side. Essentially, the decision to promote someone and give a better salary is a emotional decision for the boss. The boss needs to feel it. The boss needs to see a vision that this will be better in the future than it currently is. So if you give more money to someone, it will be better for some reason, right? So it should not be. So many people think about this like, well, I give so much to the company, now my boss owes me, like I'm deserved. And they come to the boss and talk about this with a projection that they're victims. Like, I'm not given what I deserve. Like, you need to compensate for that. And this is totally wrong position. You can't really negotiate for a position of victim. It's just you lose like from the very beginning. Like, never do this,
So what
because
is the best strategy? I
uh, but
suppose I'm working as a communication specialist or manager, and I want to go to communication director position.
yeah,
So how I should negotiate this with my boss?
yeah. First of all, no negativity at all. It
No
should not.
negativity.
No negativity. You should not. It was a question for me before. Like, if I don't project my negative emotions, how people will be incentivized to give me anything at all? Like, they need to see that I'm really pissed off, and then they'll give me something. Well, that's completely wrong philosophy. It's a completely wrong mindset. You should not really. So, why people make decisions? They make decisions because they are uncomfortable. But you should not be making them uncomfortable because of your bad emotions.
So number one, I should avoid negativity.
Avoid negativity. Second, don't wait for too long. Start
Yes.
your negotiation on day one. I have one client, and he is a negotiation practice community, and he came to me after 3 months into his job, and he said, I want to get promoted. And I asked him, well, how long have you been to this new job? And he said, 3 months. I said, well, that's kind of strange, 3 months and you want to be promoted. And he's like, yeah, because if I don't ask now, I need to wait for 14 months because of the cycle, the process, yeah, the policy cycle or whatever, the fiscal cycle on the company. They're not considering anything for the next 14 months. And we sit together and we put together a plan. And he had two conversations, one with his supervisor, and the supervisor supervised. He got promoted to senior position, got 13% of his salary up. Not too bad for 3 months, right? So 13% up salary, it's a substantial increase in salary, and also he got promoted to a more visible, more respected position. So this is how you need to think about it. Don't think in terms of your how long, how many years you've been in the
So
company. You
don't wait
start
a lot.
negotiating. Don't wait too long.
Can you
No
tell me the third
negative,
one?
no negativity. The third one is find the right person. So your boss might or might not be the person who can make decision. So
Yes.
again, People say no sometimes because they cannot do anything. And your boss may say, well, I will talk to this person, I will talk to my boss, I will talk to somebody else. But the thing is that next opportunity might be not for your boss. Your next opportunity could be for executive who is laterally working as a peer of your vice president. Maybe that. So connect with people, talk to people, build relationships, talk to them about what's important to them, what problems they are going through, what projects they're up, and negotiate your help there, negotiate your involvement. Your time on your job is not only for your own paycheck and salary and vacation. It's for your marketing. Your marketing, you should be great at marketing yourself within the company, and you should be a good networker, and you need to meet everyone who has budget funding and open positions.
Oh,
that
so
that's
in
that's
this
your
in this
game.
in this fifth one, we call it do personal branding. Work on
Yeah.
yourself.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. You don't stop working on your personal branding when you hire. Work on your personal branding even harder. This is very important
yeah.
because like, doing the lateral moves, you're losing your momentum. When you're working on your personal branding within the company, you're actually going up, not laterally, sideways. So you're actually building your authority while you brand yourself within the company. Yeah, absolutely.
So, did you have some other points? Because I already point five things. You said to stop negativity, don't wait for a long time, find the right person that they are decision makers, and then build a relationship. And fifth, do marketing or do personal branding.
Yeah.
That you need to be noticed. So, do you have any other point here, or should I just another?
I think this is enough because if you actually network well and you learn about what people do, they probably will start offering you. Well, you actually need to do what you good at, and articulating that. That's your personal branding. This is what we talked about. You mentioned that you need to be good at branding. You need to articulate very well what you are actually passionate about, what you want to change, what is your expertise, and once you actually really good at that, it's rolls off your tongue, then
So,
it will be obvious for people. They will start knocking your door. But to accelerate the process, what you can do, one more tip: learn about people's problems. Ask them about what is the biggest challenge you have in front of you. Just ask this question: what's the biggest challenge in front of you? And listen carefully and remember it. Write it down and know about everybody's challenges and think about it. And I trust me that the solution will come to your mind, and you will be a connector. You'll connect. You will start seeing big picture. You start connecting the dots, and people really appreciate that.
sure. Are you with me? Yeah.
Yep.
Do you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. So my other question is for the people who are entering the interview area for a position, and then the human resource department or the HR, the director or officer, anyone. So they are asking that how much we should pay you or how much is your expectation. Now this negotiation start from here. How should be the response?
Yeah, that's a very good question. The best response will be with the question. And the question, first of all, you need to nurture that question, and you should say like, this is a very good question, and I understand that you probably want to figure out what's the best way where it fits. And with my experience and my uh, uh, skills set, and based on the current situation in the company. So make a nurturing statement first, so they will understand that you understand the question, and then after that you can say, what is the compensation range for this position according to the policy. So you ask them a very direct question about what the range they have from what to what, and they do. Most companies, if this is not a startup, in a startup, of course, you need to negotiate a little bit differently, but it's more complex. But essentially, within that corporate structure, usually it's a range I don't know, project manager one, project manager two, senior manager, and director.
So
Like you could say
that will tell me that the range is from 150,000 to $250,000 annually.
$250,000. Okay.
Yes. So now they give me the range, and I'm expert. I do have 10 years experience, and I think and I'm sure enough that they will hire me. So what should I say now? Should I just say the maximum or the average or the low salary?
Okay. Uh, well, you can keep asking them. You can keep asking them, and essentially you you can ask this question at the very beginning, but if you didn't, maybe you can ask it at this point, and you can say, what is the most critical skills that you see in me? Why I'm considered for this position, and what is the most important thing that that I can contribute to your company? So let them answer this question. And best if this is a not a hiring manager, best it will be a hiring manager who answering this question. So when you're in the hiring with the hiring manager, ask this question to get the reason why they're hiring you. For example, they give you a director position and you will be in charge of a large project and you will be running the whole thing with a budget of $5 million. Then you can say, well, considering I will be running the whole thing with a budget of $5 million, I think it makes sense to give me a 250,000.
Okay,
And let
good.
them say what they say. They may say like, no, we cannot start from $250, but this is what you want. You want them to say no. You don't want them to say yeah, because you don't know how much you leave on the table. You don't know where they stand. When they actually say no to you, then you can say, well, okay, what is more reasonable from your point of view? And they may say like, well, let's start from 200,000. But
So, thank
then,
you very much. That was so nice. Yeah. My other question is here that if I want to be a great negotiator, what are the main skills that I should have? And also, if you can answer this, having these negotiation skills are God gifted or it can be learned?
yeah, it's an awesome question, fantastic question. I will answer both. Think about negotiations like a verbal taekwondo. If you want to be good at taekwondo, first of all, is taekwondo a God-given skill or not? Well, it doesn't sound to be a God-given skill. There's so many taekwondo schools around there. The same, there's so many negotiation schools around, and there are so many negotiators, and you you can't really say that all the companies are staying away from that, and they actually learning that. All the executives, they're investing in negotiation and influence. They're actually hiring coaches. They're hiring the trainers to train their teams. It's kind of like sort of a race. Why? Because there is a real fight going on, because people are making deals all the time. They're making agreements. It's critical. It protects the margin, because you don't want to fund your vendor. You don't want to fund your competitor. You don't want to fund the client. If you don't want to give away your margin, why would you do that? It slows down your growth. So from this perspective, it's very important to find that number that would be making sense for each, without you giving away your power, without compromising, essentially. So you don't want to compromise. And talking about what skill, well, if you think about Taekwondo, and if you say like, what kind of kick I need to learn to be good at Taekwondo, I would say all kicks. You need to actually learn all the kicks and all the forms. And the more kicks and the more perfect they are, the better you will be in competition.
So, what
So
are those kicks in negotiation?
and negotiation skills, there are many negotiation skills. There are many principles. There's a system of negotiation, and you need to know your system. You need to be within your system. And once you're within the system of negotiation, like on overall, it's about planning, execution, and debriefing. So you actually need to plan well. You need to plan for the right things. You need to execute well. You need to focus on execution, not on the goal. Because if you focus on the result, sorry, not on the result. If you focus on the result, you become needy, and you become needy. It leaks out, and people start to take advantage of you. The experienced negotiation will start to see your need, and they start, play on that.
So, what
On
are the
that.
common skills that everybody should have
like generally for being a great negotiator?
Learn to listen. Reflective listening, probably the first thing to start from. If you could learn reflective listening is a very simple tool where you listen to someone and then you reflect. And by the way, reflective listening is not about listening, it's about reflecting. How you reflect is very important because you need to let people know that you understand them. They need to actually verify that. How do they verify? Through reflection. And reflection consists of two simple things. First, tell them what they're going through, and second, tell them what they feel about it.
That's
So
good.
if somebody is saying like, okay, I wake up in the morning, I went with my dog and I fall down and my dog ran away and I start to chase it, and because of that I hurt my knees, and I also went to work and was late for my meeting. How do you reflect? You need to make a very very short statement, kind of like saying, sounds like your morning was really hard, and you already feel stressed. So you say them two things, like what they're going through, the hard morning, challenging morning, and how they feel about it.
Oh,
They
the
feel
the one
stressed.
number one skill is listen to reflect.
Reflective listening, yes. And
Okay. Second,
by the yeah, and by the way, I have a free master class coming up on reflective listening. So if you want to check it out on my webpage, you can come and
please share the link and the information. Feel free. I was coming about that at the end, that if you have any program, any event, any coaching, so they can contact you. I will have your contact number. I have a few other questions quickly. I want your quick answers. So
sure.
tell me the other skills if you know, and like one is the listening power, or listening for reflection, or reflection listening.
Reflective listening, yep.
Do you have any other suggestion that the skills that they should have?
A very powerful skill is nurturing, and I don't know how to explain it quickly, because if I tell you on overall, you may misunderstand what it means. Essentially, nurturing is about supportive conversation when people feel like you understand them and you support their way of thinking, though you don't really agree to that, but you kind of helping them to express themselves and you validating their train of thought and
A
their
kind of
thinking and
influencing.
their values and the values. It's not about influencing, it's more building relationships. So nurturing is a relationship building tool that builds trust.
Okay, do you have number third?
Number three, okay, well, learn labeling. And labeling is described very well by Chris Voss. Now split the difference, and he's talking about this. Google that. Google labeling with Chris Voss, and you will see how he does that. It's an assumptive statement that you can replace any question with a label. And the reason why, because a question could be considered challenging, but label is an assumptive statement that is more tentative and it's very hard to resist replying to. So when somebody's saying it seems like you're really good at your job, you want to reply to that. You really want to whether disprove or you can confirm that. And sometimes many people say like, oh, I'm not really good. I'm doing this and this and this. And they start to tell you more about their way, their path, their values, their circumstances, and you can learn a lot. So labeling is a very powerful tool. It's equivalent of questions, but questions sometimes could be perceived as inquisitive and people may close up, but labels are so irresistible. So learn that.
Okay. So, do you have experience negotiation and conflicts?
Absolutely. And the best system for negotiating resolving conflicts is a crucial conversation. So far, I cannot find of anything more effective because it's so simple. It's a tool for building a dialogue. And in order to build a dialogue, you actually need to keep it safe. And by the way, it's absolutely in alignment with what camp negotiation system teaches. The role of a successful and effective negotiation is to keep the safe environment. So everybody would be very comfortable expressing their thoughts. And crucial conversation give you tools, and I will give you one tool for keeping the conversation safe called contrasting. Many people feel unsafe because they don't understand your intent. And to clarify your intent, you can contrast that. And contrasting is between what they think your bad intent could be and your real intent, which is good, meaning that is actually selfless, it's inclusive, and also it's a long term. For example, I can say, I really don't want to tell you what to do. It's bad intent. Maybe somebody have a feeling like I'm, dictating them, like I directing them by what I say, and that's the first part. And the second part, I say, I would really like to learn and understand what's the best way to do. So it's inclusive, it's about them, it's empathetic, and also it's a long term. So together it will say like that, it will sound like this. I really don't want to tell you what to do. I would like to learn and understand what's the best way to do it.
Mm-hmm. That's
So
great.
this contrast statement creates so much safety in the dialogue. So people will feel comfortable to contribute to the dialogue and keep talking to you and figure it out. So that's very powerful too.
What are the big mistakes people make during negotiation?
Well, that's a very big question. We can spend another hour talking about this.
So tell me one or
Uh,
two, three, just one, two, three, like one, maybe they become impatient or they are
yeah,
aggressive communicator. Anything that you think is like, so from your experience, you already talked with many people and you coach people. Every day you face with people. So what are the obstacles, the mistakes that they do
yeah,
it during the communication or negotiation that you think that they should
yeah,
not do it?
yeah. So I think the biggest is people prepare in the wrong way for negotiation. People prepare from their own selfish perspective and they think about, oh, how much I deserve, how people are being unfair, and they prepare for a wrong thing. They prepare for a wrong conversation. They prepare for guilt trip the other side. And sometimes they go to a friend or a family member and telling them like, this is what's going on and this is all unfair and this is how I feel. And they get a lot of sympathy and people actually start to, fuel that and then they go to a conversation in the full rage and they start to push the other person and the other side and surprise them with this negativity and don't do this. First of all, don't prepare based on your own feeling about this, and it doesn't matter how you feel about this. What's most important is how the other side is feeling about this. What vision do they have about that? So you need to actually go to a professional coach. Don't go to your friend because your friend will be helpless or helpless at least, but at the worst case it will be really detrimental to get support, sympathetic support from from your friends who will be advising you how to overpower the other side and threaten them and how to guilt trip them. So that doesn't help. So that's probably the biggest thing. Another one, not trying to leverage empathy. Thinking like your leverage is when you corner people and withdraw their right to say no, is that your biggest opportunity? No, it's actually not the biggest. You actually, when you push people, you are doing that at expense of relationships. Instead, you need to leverage empathy. You need to understand what their problem facing them. When you know what their problem they're dealing with, that's your leverage. This is where you can create the future. This is where you can create an agreement where you better together. Yeah. What other mistakes people do? Um, they try to overpower. Many times people want say, "I want to be more assertive. I want to be more assertive." And some people are more assertive. They feel more free to do this, and they ruin relationships very easily. It's me. I know how to be assertive and how to ruin relationships. And they start to talk too much, talk excessively, talk over other people, disregard their opinion, not listening, and all sorts of mistakes coming with that. You don't need to be assertive.
Yeah.
You need to know how to ask questions. You need to actually learn how to build trust. That is very, very effective. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Vladimir Bushing. And how can people contact you? What are the best ways? And what do you have for people?
Yeah, well, they actually they can come to my website businessrelationshipscoach.com. They can visit my LinkedIn profile, Vladimir Bushin. They can find a lot of resources there. I'm posting quite often. I have a blog host. And also I have 2 more free master classes coming up. That's on my website. One is about reflective listening, and that I believe that's on 18th of June. Wait a second, I need to look at my calendar here. I'm sorry, I'm not prepared. I can tell you in a second. I need to open my website. So if you go to the businessrelationshipscoach.com, you will see that in a, scroll down a little bit, you will see it in relatively quickly, free master classes. So June 18th at 5 p.m. Central Time, that will be reflective listening. And another one, July 2nd, 7 Principles of Influence. That's another masterclass, 1-hour masterclass. But also, I have there the subscription to my newsletter. If you want to get updates on negotiation and influence tips, and building relationships. I have a blog there as well, so you can check it out. And also I have mastermind group coaching. And again, 2 coming up on 7 Principles of Influence on July 19th. And also on July 9th, I have
These
another
all
one.
informations are available on your website.
Yep,
So they can get
it's
it.
all there. Yep, and another one, 7 Levels of Nurturing. It's how to build trust and how to build rapport very quickly. So, yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Vladimir Bushin. It was such a nice talking with you, and I hope to see you soon.
Thank you so much, Siam. It's a pleasure talking to you, and I wish you every success with your business, with your branding business. You are bringing so much value to people who wants to excel in corporate environment and business, and I will be considering your services as well. I think it's very valuable for everyone, and I wish you every success. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It was such a nice talking with you.
Absolutely. Take care.
Bye.